Hello my fellow hunters, in this video I'm gonna show you a KO switch axe build. First of all, I have 3 tips for you. I don't want to go too much into the stun and exhaust morph. Maybe I gonna explain the morph later, but first of all I only want to show you the build, give you some details about the best possible skill combination you can use on the new Rampage switch axe. So this video is especially only for the new Rampage exhaust switch axe. It's incredible strong. So first of all I'm gonna tell you the 3 important things. The first thing is I have also written all that stuff at the bottom of the video. The elemental switch axe meta I've told you is about 18% stronger than this switch axe I'm actually holding in my hands. Is like an upgraded version of the Tigrex switch axe, which is pretty much more stronger than the Tigrex switch axe. Actually I didn't prepare a morph, yes, comparison, but I can tell you that this axe is in all cases better than the Tigrex switch axe. Yes, the first thing is elemental switch axe meta is about 18% stronger. It's because the Rampage elemental switch axes has a power phial which gives you additional 15% raw and also the extra elemental attack. Because you don't have any elemental attack, exhaust doesn't cause extra damage. They only cause status, and status is no damage. It's only special constellations. And from the elemental switch axes, like from the Narva switch axe, which is a pretty good thunder switch axe, you gain that 45% additional elemental attack. So to make it easy, elemental switch axe is still a lot better, but if there are some monsters you have problems with, or some monsters that doesn't really have elemental weakness, like Magna Malo or Basarios, so they are pretty bad at all. They have bad raw hit zone values, bad elemental hit zone values. Maybe for that monsters it's a pretty good weapon. The next thing is with each hit of the swags with an exhaust phial you do 5 stun damage. I'm gonna explain you the morph in another video, but yes, it's like a normal status, like with blast weapon or other. With each hit you apply, yes, 5 fixed stun damage, so it doesn't care what moves you do. So I recommend using forced moves like ZSD or other stuff. I'm not a fan of ZSD. I'm also for the benchmark run. I didn't use ZSD, but I think for KO it's the best way to claim to the head and do a ZSD spam. And so I come to the next point. KO only works on a head. So for several monsters maybe KO switch axe is not the best choice. For example for Zinogre or for Gossarak. So if you maybe fought against in the back versus, or in the past versus these monsters, you can't stick with your switch axe to the head with the exhaust phial or in general with the switch axe, and so you don't dealing any KO damage. If you're using the switch axe, you also have to keep in mind that you only do the KO damage when you're aiming for the head. Either you do 0 KO damage. Okay, so I think for the beginners the best thing is to, yes, ZSD to the head. It's the easiest way. And now I come to the next thing. The screen goes black because I didn't done any stuff. I go to the Rampage tree, to the last page, and you can see here Rampage tree. You need to fight against a lot of Apex monsters. Also that Defender ticket 8 and 9 is very annoying because it takes a lot of time, maybe 20 minutes or so. You fight against Apex Rathalas to get that Defender ticket 9 and or Apex Diablos. Yeah, maybe it's some time consuming to get that Rampage switch axe, but it's a pretty strong switch axe. Like I explained you before, elemental switch axes from the Rampage is pretty strong, and now the Rampage exhaust switch axe is pretty strong. I recommend using sharpness type 1, like you know from my elemental switch X video, non-elemental boost, which boosts your raw, you can see here, by 10. You lose 5 when you're using elemental attack, and it's pretty good raw, 220. And yes, with the sharpness type 1, we only need 1 level of handicraft to reach right sharpness with productive polish and other stuff, and for the phial exhaust. So the only bad thing is you can't use on an exhaust phial an element. So you can see here we have equipped the exhaust phial. If we go to element, we can't use any element, and yes, that's a shame. Unfortunately, I really like to play elemental switch X with KO. That would be so awesome, but yes, Capcom didn't make that possible for us. So that's the best possible combination. I prepared 2 different sets for you. Like you maybe know in my previous videos, I prepare every time a wax build and a no wax build. No wax build is for Apex monsters, Elder Dragons. Yes. So first of all, you can see here in the upper half the wax builds, and in the other half the no wax builds. You can see here, mathematically, the best possible combination is, like you maybe know from my elemental switch X builds, weakness exploit 3 with attack boost 4 and agitator 3. Attack boost 4 and agitator 3 is the best possible combination you can use actually on a switch X, because it's a lot better than only maxed out attack boost, because you gain that additional affinity, which is pretty cool. Also, I only had 1 level of power prolonger. I'm always using now power prolonger. On the previous builds I didn't use power prolonger, but it's such a huge increase of your DPS, and also such enjoying when you have the Shuratorus chest with a weight extender, so I highly recommend using always the Shuratorus chest. It's just too comfy, and I wrote down here, maybe you have also read it in the spreadsheet. I wrote it, yes, using agitator with exhaust is kinda bullshit, because if you have an exhaust phial and the monster gets easily in the drooling state, and in the drooling state the monster isn't enraged. So agitator makes mathematically a lot more damage, but it doesn't make any sense when you have exhaust phial, because so the monster get easily in the normal state, and yes, the agitator doesn't work anymore. Maybe for speedruns using agitator is still better, because the monster maybe doesn't get so fast in the drooling state, but for longer fights I think it's better to use crit eye instead of the agitator. And so I can highly recommend using this set. The green marked sets are the recommended for me personally. They mathematically don't do maybe the best DPS, but they are very comfy, very easy to use, still does a decent amount of damage. You can see here we are using Wax 3 with Crit Eye 2, Attack Boost 4, Power Prolonger level 2 with also maxed out exhaust. That 56 exhaust is absolutely insane. And yes, we are doing, don't be worried about the lower cycle DPS values. I completely changed. I removed the petalace. For the previous builds I always included a 15 flat raw increase for the petalace, but yes, they apply in the training room, the 15 flat boost, but don't in the quest. So the petalace doesn't give you any flat raw boost if you haven't claimed any bugs. So it doesn't make sense for the morph calculator to put in that 15 or 20 flat raw boost if using app Salute or Demon Petalace. So you can see here that are now all completely new values. You can see here also with the new non-petalace value, you're dealing 117 cycle DPS with the elemental switch X, and with my recommended Wax Rampage switch X we're dealing 97 cycle DPS. There's also a build with which is mathematically better with 1 crit boost and Power Prolonger 3, but on this build we have the Wike chest, so I don't really recommend using this. I recommend using with the weight extender, the Shuratorus mate, and I know don't want to talk too much. Yes, I talked that agitator doesn't really make sense, maybe on the paralysis build or other stuff, but don't on the exhaust build. Also I tried out crit boost and several stuff, but I know I'm gonna show you the best possible combination you can use. Okay, so first of all, I've used the Laterite Chamois wax because it's my favorite weapon design. Also, Chamois is my favorite monster, if you know maybe my Twitter account. Sorry, it's Cammy. In Germany, we say Chamelios, and in the English language, they say Chemi. So I forgot to say a Chemi instead of Chemi. Okay, let's look at the switch skills. Recommend using for beginners, finishing discharge and soaring wyvern blade. You can see in the benchmark run, I doesn't use any ZSD in the benchmark run because yes, it's very boring to use ZSD, also very brain dead. Maybe it's better for the damage output and better KO, but I enjoy a lot more than Visible Gambit because it looks, I think it looks more badass. Yes, and it's also very much fun to play. And also the time for the benchmark is pretty cool. It was my first run for the Summoner Camp and I needed 2 minutes and 45 seconds. So I think I can maybe easily go under 2:35 or what else. So I'm gonna show you the decorations I've used. You can see white sharpness with 56 exhaust damage. You can see the skills here. I forgot to show the skills like I already explained. Maybe I show you only the additional skills, also Protective Polish with Stamina Sheaves, Speed Dropping, Rapid More 3, Crit Eye 2, Power Blanca 2. You can also maybe use Slugger instead of Crit Eye, but I don't really recommend it, because if you putting too much effort into the Slugger skills and you don't attack to the head, the Slugger 2 is absolutely wasted. And they only increase the damage from your Slugger from 5 to 6. I doubt that doesn't make any sense to use too much Slugger on a Switch X. So I also have additional Power Blanca level 2 with, I'm very lucky, I got a new charm and I love that charm. That charm is so nuts. I maybe use that in my next speedruns. Such a cool charm. Also Handicraft, a Weight Extender, Flinch, Recovering Pro, Dragonheart. So first of all, maybe I'm gonna show you my new charm. This is a Wirebug Whisperer 2 charm with Carving Pro, and the slots are, sorry, I forgot to tell you the charm that you need. You need for all the builds. The skill doesn't matter. The main skill, you only need a level 3 and a level 2 skill on your talisman, and the main skill doesn't matter. Okay. So yes, I really like the Wirebug Whisper skill because I'm using a lot the Invisible Gambit, and yes, Invisible Gambit and Wirebug Whisper, that skills work so well together. You can see it in a speedrun. That's no speedrun, that's a benchmark run, okay? So yes, Wirebug Whisper is absolutely nutty, especially if you claim additional Wirebugs. The third Wirebugs, yes, keeps much more longer stayed on. And yes, so main skill doesn't matter, only level 3 and level 2 slot on the talisman. I also prepared other talismans, so if you don't have that talisman I have, the only thing is you have to click on this link. The web page got open it, go to search, and you can see here there are 3 different builds, also with the Rapid Morph 1 talisman with 2 level 2 slots. So that doesn't matter, you can also search on the Switch X, yes, on my Switch X data sheet. So finally I now come to the set. As on the Almudron helm, as the thing is we can use on this build the Wild Struck Sprathus. We don't use that on the Elemental Switch X, but we can use it here. It negates your exhaust damage, but that doesn't care. We either still do the KO damage, okay? So that we can use the Wild Struck Sprathus, no problem. On the Almudron helm, as 2 Sharp Tools 2. On the Shuratotus main, we always use on the Swags 3 Grinder Tools 1, and the Wild Struck Sprathus S, a Sharp Tool 2, on the Anjanath Coil S, a Tenderizer Tool 2 and 2 Drain Tools 1, and on the Ingot Greaves S, a Drain Tool 1. On our Talisman, the main skill doesn't care. We have a Handicraft and Handicraft Tool level 3 and a Quick Switch Tool level 2, and I also choose the Brace Tool if you're fighting with randoms or other stuff. So that's the build. Sorry, I wasted too much time with talking. Yeah, don't talking about other stuff. And yes, that's the Wax build with Weakness Exploit, and I'm gonna now show you the other build, the No Wax build for the Apex monsters. So you can see here I still prepared with Agitator 5, you're dealing 100.7 Cycle DPS. Because here still pretty good against 60 hits in value and 40 hits in value. We're dealing about maybe 3 or 4 cycle DPS more than with a standard set. But all in all, I also tried different sets with Slugger 3 and Slugger 2. You can see it here. You only deal about 95 DPS, cycle DPS, sorry. So yes, at the end of the day, I'm gonna say yes. Recommend using this build. Max out first your attack boost and then using the rest of your free skills for the crit skills, because phials can't crit and the other stuff. Make sure to use the power prolonger level 2, and yes, you can maybe keep as much decorations if you can to max out the exhaust damage of the Switch Axe. Okay, I didn't use any slugger skills on the Switch Axe set. Maybe that's are not the same skills I'm showing you in the actual build, but we're gonna see. So to make the comparison with the wax build, this set does exactly the same damage than a wax build. The no wax build and the wax build does exactly the same damage, so it doesn't care about what sets you're using actually. But I recommend it if you're hunting Somnacamp or other easy monsters using the wax build, and if you're hunting any Elder Dragons or any hyper monsters or what else, what I'm maybe gonna add in the future, any Arch-Tempered monsters or what else, using the no wax build. So I'm gonna change my set, go to a object box, so it's the item box, and you can see here the only difference is we have more raw on the no wax build. You can see here we have 252 instead of 238, and we also don't use the wild struck sprays, so we made that, and that's high defense like in the first build. But yes, still in the end of the day they have the same damage. We're using the Rathaler sprays instead of the wild struck sprays. Yes, and we only have to swap out that one tenderizer tool we've used. So you can see we have the same decorations like in the first set. We have Olmudra and Helm with 2 sharp tool tools, all the Shura Totosme with 3 grinder tools level 1. On the Rathaler sprays we have the sharp tool 2, so the only thing you have to do is to swap the tenderizer tool out with attack tool 2, and yes, swapping the Rathaler sprays with wild strike sprays. Yes, 2 drain tools 1, and add the ingot greaves drain tool 1. On our talisman, main skill doesn't matter. Using Wirebug Whisperer, we are having Handicraft level 3 and Quick Switch level 2 with Brace tool 1. Okay, that's the second build. Leave me in the comments down below if you're interested in any KO morph build, or only KO video. I'm gonna make a separate video how to calculate when you can maybe topple monsters, or you aiming for thresholds for the drooling state or other stuff. Maybe I'm gonna make a separate morph video for that, but I don't want to make this video too long. So yes, I'm gonna add the benchmark run with the Somnacamp, like I already told. The time of the run was pretty cool, like I already explained. Only 2 minutes and 45 seconds for the first try, so this set works very well. At the end of the day I recommend using Elemental, is still better, but it's also very fun to play. So if you wanna maybe have some more diversity in your playstyle, you can also use this set. You can write me in the comments down below if you're using the ZSD spam, or maybe I make an extra poll on YouTube, or if you still prefer the ZSD spam or the Invisible Gambit. I personally prefer the Invisible Gambit. It's much more fun to play. Yes, more fluid gameplay. It doesn't get interrupted. Doesn't have to do the. In German it's called the morph ladder, but I actually don't remember the English name, where you can charge up your gauge. So I'm gonna add this run. See you next time. Sorry, don't want to make this video too long. See you next time.